Oh, hello. Welcome back to the Triforce podcast.
You just woken me up with a start.
Oh,
that's what. Hello.
Get out of bed, P-Flax. The house is on fire.
Oh my god!
Quick, save your family.
Well, I might just save my computer. Grab your hard drives and get out.
I need this stuff.
Quickly clear my browser history. Hang on a second.
Oh, man.
There's a lot here. There's a lot of little cached files in this. A lot of videos, a lot of... it's taking ages.
If you were alone in the house and you realised you were dying, like everything's going dark, what is the chance you'd come in and just factory reset your PC just to be on the safe side?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They'd find you dead with a drill in hand, having drilled through the platters of your hard drives.
I think it's like that's like such a good general life tip and warning for people as well, because you never know when you're gonna go, right? If you're spending your time doing like a lot of weird shit and stuff like that, and then suddenly you go, people are gonna find out about it, like post.
Yeah, but you're gonna be dead.
I know, but still, you don't want your legacy to be
besmirching your legacy.
Yeah, we found him with a ball gag and a Pikachu butt plug in his ass, and you know what I mean? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you do that and you're proud of it and you don't mind, that's fine. But if you're hiding like a deep dark secret and you don't want it to ever be known, maybe just be careful. I'm just saying, be careful.
I suppose that the legacy I'd be worried about would be if my kids remembered me negatively because they'd seen how bad I was at Dota or something. It might be something that you would want to put in your past for the sake of your what would it be, antecedents, or I think it would be, right? The kids that come after you, people that come after you. So I wouldn't want people to look back and say,
sure,
oh, Grandpa Ted, what was he like? Oh, well, we all thought he was all right, but he's crazy, something like that. So I guess I don't care about legacy as in what people think of me, but I would hate to embarrass my children.
I think it is very easy for that to happen, though, for like, you to be talking about someone and then you hear one thing and you're like, I believe this totally, right? So, for example, I don't know if I can tell this, but I was on holiday. Did I tell you this? I was on holiday with some folks, and one of them is working at is a published author, quite a big publisher, and it's also a publisher of I don't want to say a British legend, but quite a British man that we all know the name of, okay? A celebrity, quite a famous British celebrity and an author. And an email went round the publisher, okay, saying that please, if you work for this publishing house, be careful around this particular man because he's slept with 3 different interns and given them venereal diseases.
Oh my god!
Holy crap!
So he's obviously a bit of a scumbag.
It's Alan Bennett.
It's not Alan Bennett. He's a national treasure. I didn't say national treasure.
Right.
He's not a national treasure, but he is a well-known... And I had good respect for him before. I'll tell you guys who it is after the podcast. But
can you just message us on the WhatsApp? Because I'm desperate to know now. I won't say anything.
To know.
Okay, fine. I'll type it in the Discord. I'll just type it in.
No, don't do that.
Well, I'll delete it again.
All right.
Okay, there you go. I put it in.
Oh my god.
No, come on.
I'm not surprised by that, in all honesty.
I'm not surprised, but at the same time, come on.
I
Jeez.
know. And I believe it because this person who I was on a holiday with is a published author at that publishing house. And, I believe that this is true now. And it's amazing the stuff that that can ruin your legacy.
Yeah, well.
Once that all comes out, which I'm sure it will.
I never liked this person in any way.
I know you have much control. You don't have any control actually over like what happens around your death and stuff like that. But I always think, like somebody you hold in such a high esteem, but you don't know much about them, like this sort of like these parasocial relationships or whatever.
Right.
And you just think, you have this person up on a pedestal, you see them just in like the nicest light possible throughout their whole life or whatever. But what if you're just like a police officer or like a detective or something, you turn up to a scene where somebody's passed away and it's like a high profile person that you held in some scene, like say Liz Hurley passed away or whatever. You go into her bathroom where she passed away, or her bedroom or whatever, there's just a big shit in her pants. You know what I mean? Like it would it would ruin your whole
what do we got, Sarge?
Concept of this person, right?
Looks
You'd be like, well, I can never admire the work ever again now that I've seen her dead with a shit in her pants. You know what I mean?
Liz Hurley died.
Yeah.
She got a shit in her pants.
But like just like a big like protruding log like in her pants.
Could you
that she
imagine
had no
that
control
being written
over.
on her tombstone as well?
Yeah, died with a shit in her pants. Or like, you know what I mean? It's just like she just has like a chocolate mustache. She died eating chocolate, or just like something really, just like
really dumb.
Yeah, just something really
like
dumb.
Elvis on the toilet, that follows him, doesn't
That's
it?
true.
But
Everybody always thinks of
I don't know if
Elvis
that was
dying on the
true.
toilet.
Like,
No, he did
dying
die on the
toilet
bog,
with a
didn't he?
cheeseburger.
Yeah, he did.
But like even worse than just dying on the toilet, what if you walked in the room and it just stunk of BO? Like he just had really bad BO and then died on the toilet or
suspect he
whatever,
did.
He probably did, but like you don't really think about these things, You just see these people moving and shaking up on stage and, Mr. Saturday Night putting on the razzle dazzle and stuff. But, these people all poop and stink and do all these normal things, and then oftentimes when you find them dead, well, they're probably in the middle of doing those normal things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I'd hate to have that job where you're just like, the curtain is pulled back every time. I'd find it hard to appreciate these people anymore if I just...
Yeah, two things. One, sometimes things are out of their control. My hot water boiler broke this week, started leaking through the floor. The first thing I noticed was the ceiling was dripping in the lounge.
I've had that. I've had that exact thing. It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
And so I ran upstairs and was like, ah! And I turned all the taps and got it to turn off, and it's fucked the whole ceiling of the lounge, and it soaked the whole fucking upstairs with boiling hot water. And I was wringing it up with a towel, trying to soak it all up, and I scalded my hand really badly, so all my fucking skin's flaking off my fucking fingers,
God.
like an old woman. And so
let me guess as well. You'd stripped right down to your G-string and your turtleneck to do this, and you were worried that if you died trying to wring out all this scalding hot water, that people would just find you in that state. Just like water burns all over your legs. So you got the turtleneck on.
Yeah, and smelling of BO because I hadn't had a shower. So I mean, that was the problem, right? Like I got up and it happened in the morning early, and I hadn't had a shower yet. And I obviously caught it early. If I was on holiday, the whole fucking flat would have been fucked.
Yeah.
But I was okay, and so I didn't have a shower. So I called the plumber, and they came round. And of course, they didn't come round. They said, "Oh, I'll be round. I'll be round. I keep promising they'll be round." They didn't come round at all. So I was like, for fuck's sake. So the next day, I was like, obviously still haven't had a shower. And I'm like, what am I fucking going to do? And the plumber's like, don't worry, I'll be here at like 11. So I was like, okay. So my partner, I was like, can I go, to the office and, have a shower there and do some work. And my partner was like, you can't leave me here, because I had an experience when I was younger. That was when the workman came round to install something. He like hit on me and was really creepy.
Yeah. Wow.
And he then, I've told you this, but he came back later afterwards because she was really nice to him. She came back late. He came back later. It really freaked her out. It was a really horrible time. So I was waiting around for this plumber. 11 o'clock came, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Still wasn't fucking here. I was like, you're fucking joking me. So he finally turns up. And of course, he can't fix the problem. He's like, oh, you got to order some parts. So I'm like, I've been like 2 days. I'm like, I really want, like every hour, I'm like, I really want to shower, like more and more. It's almost like it probably wouldn't have bothered me.
Man, you just go to a pool. Go to like a gym that has a pool, and they normally have showering facilities. You can have a cleanup or a YMCA.
Jump in the pool.
You can have a hot meal, and you can have a swim, and you can do whatever you feel over there.
What I'm saying is, it was just out of my control. And at that point, I did go to the office and have a shower because we got this shower downstairs, which is, by the way, the fucking smallest possible footprint cubicle you could possibly imagine. It's like an airplane
now you know
toilet,
how the other half live, eh? You were probably using your executive shower room this whole time.
No.
Now you have to use the pleb one.
The office shower is so fucking tiny.
Wait, there's an office shower?
There's an office shower, but you can't bend over. I'm not even joking.
Where's the fun in that?
No, it's like a vertical astronaut fucking shower or some shit where you fucking squeeze your way in, you get the shower, and then you can't really even like bend over to like dry yourself, and so you have to sort of try and lift your legs up to put socks on again. It's a disaster.
So if you drop the soap in that shower, you just have to slither down awkwardly to pick it up, and that's very boring then.
I think you'd have to like probably do.
What if you blow your back
weird...
out mid pickup as well?
Well, at least you're stuck in like a
coffin.
And then
you die.
You're in a coffin. They just tip the shower over.
Oh my god!
They tip the shower over, nail a door across, and just bury you like that.
It's like fucking caving. It's like that guy who died in the Nutty Butty Cove or whatever, where he fucking crawled in face first, got stuck, and they couldn't get him out again.
Wookiee Hole, Cheddar Gorge.
No, one of those. There was some people caving people are the most idiotic people, by the way.
Oh man, have you seen those YouTube videos where those guys are crawling in those really, really tight?
I can't watch them. I can't watch them.
No, me neither.
No,
they that's my worst nightmare. Holy shit!
Are they? Why would you do that? Like,
I don't know.
Go to a dank, wet fucking hole,
and you don't even know if, like, what if you get jammed down there?
Oh my
and you
God,
just can't get out?
Oh.
That is just like that makes me want to throw up.
My most regular nightmare, genuinely.
God, man,
it's just horrendous.
You ever have those ones where you're like sliding down a tube or like a slide or something and you get stuck and you're just like,
I don't
what
have
the hell?
that. I tend to have one which it's a recurring one where I think I'm honestly pretty sure we've spoken about this before, but it'll be in a dream. I'm in a building like an office or some kind of business place, and I go off to find something, or I need to go somewhere. And as I'm wandering off, I start to get lost, and I end up going down and down and down more perilous-looking staircases until I get to the basement. And I'll realize that I'm stuck and I'm lost, and the only way out is an incredibly narrow pipe that gets impossibly narrow, and there's like a ladder at the end, so I have to try and get up here, and I'm trying to squeeze. Yeah. And it's like, I wake up every time sweating, because the idea of voluntarily thinking, what shall I do this weekend? Let's go into a place where you need special equipment just to hope to God you survive, to go into this cave which could flood unexpectedly, or there could be a rock fall and I'm stuck down here. And the even worse ones are ones where it's underwater as well.
Oh God,
like
yeah,
they do
underwater.
this. I watched a podcast. I think unfortunately it was the Joe Rogan podcast, but anyway, it was one where this guy goes down there with this other guy, and he was leading this other guy around. They have these tow lines that you hold on to, and you follow them into the depths, because if you let go of it, you are lost. And any movement spills up all this dust that just clouds it, and you can't see anything. So you have to hold on to. If you lose the line, you're basically done for. Yeah. And he basically has to leave this guy behind. That he's taken cave diving or whatever. He's taken him there, and the guy, panics or whatever, and he's like, what? Right, gotta leave him. And it's like, what the fuck? How is that a hobby? That would be like saying, do you want to go to the swimming pool, and someone gets in trouble and you're like, well, I got to save myself, I'm sorry. It's too perilous a situation. You're going to have to drown. You knew the risks coming in. It's like, this isn't fun anymore. This isn't a hobby. This is like, you're so desperate for danger that you're putting your life on the line. What, for the story? Is that it? Is it for the story? I don't understand. It's awful.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I would never do anything like that. I just think I don't want to get stuck somewhere where I'm like trapped or can't move or whatever. Like, I just think that would just be the worst.
Terrifying.
Be awful.
There is this thing, this study. Well, that's not study. There's this thing called micromorts, right? Which are 1 in a million chance of dying. Okay, right. So it kind of is a way to measure the riskiness of day-to-day activities, right? And it's a kind of an interesting idea, because 1 micromort is roughly equal to living 1 day at age 20, right? Okay. So if you're 20 years old, a whole day, you have a 1 in a million chance of dying.
Is that regardless of what you're doing that day?
On average, across the planet.
So that's interesting, because first of all, I would like it to be more nation specific, because if I'm 20,
I think there are.
Yeah. So the question is, for that average day, if that's the average day of someone living somewhere without clean running water, that's obviously a very different statistic from someone living in Bristol, say. Like, what is the micromort for a 20-year-old in Bristol? That's what I'd need to see that. But so, what easy things can I do?
That's probably be average, right?
It's still about 1. You'd be surprised, like the sort of the general rate of people dying in car accidents or surprise events and stuff like that is fairly consistent globally. But I mean, it will vary up and down.
And murder.
And murder. Even in like peaceful old England, still people do get murdered.
You
do
get a murderer or two once in a while.
By interesting micromort stuff. So, for example, if you were 1 day alive at age 20, you've got 1 in a million chance of dying. That goes up by 1 in a million if you spend the day skiing.
Wow! So you only double your chance of death, but it's still only 2 in a million. So
yeah. So for every 40 teaspoons of peanut butter you eat that day, then you've got an extra 1 in a million chance of dying.
That's weird. I would say that's because you're probably in terrible shape if you're eating that much peanut butter in one sitting.
I think that's the point. I think generally eating 40 teaspoons of peanut butter gives you an increased chance of dying by 1 in a million. Okay, it gives you 1 micromort.
In one sitting, 40 teaspoons of peanut butter.
Well, I think the idea of this is that it just increases your chance of dying by 1 in a million. So because you're eating peanut butter, you're eating a lot more fat. You're getting a lot more heart disease chance.
It's pointing to some warning signs.
Every 40 teaspoons of peanut butter you eat gives you an extra 1 in a million chance of dying. So it's cumulative in a sense.
Right. Okay.
But not cumulative in that's it's like an extra. Like it's anyway. It's hard to explain, but it kind of is a way to track the riskiness of an activity. So some of them are cumulative and some of them are not. Like the riskiness of living a day is 1, but the riskiness of eating 4 teaspoons of peanut butter over a year is also 1. Okay? In the same way, eating 100 charred steaks is also 1.
100?
Because they can...
Yeah.
100, yeah. Because
In a
charred
day?
steaks... No, overall, over a year, over however many years,
if
is
you've
also
had
1 in a
100
million.
charred steaks, you have a better chance of dying.
I ate
Slightly
steak
better chance of
yesterday.
dying.
I had steak yesterday. We had chimichurri steaks yesterday.
Well, you have to eat another 99 and then you'll increase your chances by a million. So
Yeah,
I guess
but
over a
come
year,
on,
for
I'm on the
example...
case. Let's go.
What steak was that he had yesterday? Probably like...
Not this
That's
year.
gotta probably be about your 500th steak, like
This year?
realistically. No, in your whole life. So
Oh, easily. Yeah.
So your chance of dying is like skyrocketed.
Actually, do you know
now.
what? I
push it
probably
right over
have
the edge.
steak once a month at best.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's only in the last sort of.
Well, I
I'd say
probably have like a
10 or
teaspoon of
15
peanut
years.
butter every day. I would have thought. Like I eat peanut butter
All
regularly.
right, okay, well, let's just calculate. So you're like, let's just say you've got 1 in a million chance of dying every day. So over a year, that's the 355 micromorts, right? How many peanut butters do you eat over the course of a year, teaspoons or steaks? You know?
Oh man, I'd say like I'd average about a teaspoon of peanut butter a day. Like some days I don't
Okay.
have any, but like I'm putting more than a teaspoon
So
on
we're
toast,
talking
you know,
like 1 micromort per month. So you could add an extra 12 micromorts. So you go 365 as your basic, but then you're adding 12 more. That'll cost you 377 micromorts.
Right.
So other things.
So what are
eating
my chances
1,000
then, Doc? What?
Well, there's a lot more. There's a lot
right.
more things that can kill you.
Okay.
Right. So eating 1,000 bananas. That's another one. That's a 1
What have
micromort.
bananas
I
done
probably
wrong?
eat about 120 bananas a year.
What have they done wrong?
They've got radiation in them, so they can give you cancer.
Hasn't everything got
right.
radiation in it?
I mean,
Yes, but bananas have particularly more because of the potassium.
Oh wow.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's a trivial amount. 1 micromort
Okay.
for 1,000 bananas is a trivial amount. So you get an increase of 1 micromort if you walk 20 miles a day. You get an increase of 1 micromort if you travel.
How many
250
steps is
miles.
that per day? Because we don't really. It's
20 miles.
2022 now. You don't really deal with miles anymore. It's all about the steps, right?
Well, yeah. It's 20 miles is quite a lot of steps. I think
Okay.
it's probably about 50,000 steps or something. It's a lot.
Right.
So yeah, more than you think. If you travel 200 miles by car, that's 1 micromort. If you travel 1,000 miles by plane, that's 1 micromort. And if you go rock climbing once, that's 3 micromorts. Okay, so rock climbing quite dangerous. However,
Yeah.
it gets worse. All right, if you scuba dive, that's 5 micromorts.
That's
Well,
only
yeah.
5.
Per dive.
Wow.
Scuba diving 5 per dive. If you run a marathon, you've got a 7 micromort increase.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
there's a
7.
lot that can go wrong during a marathon.
Yeah.
If you go skydiving, it's 8 if you're in the UK or US, but 10 globally. So obviously more people dive skydiving.
Oh, wow.
You're more likely to die outside the UK
it's
and
got to
the
be
US.
more
if
in
you go
Russia
skydiving
as well.
there.
Christ.
Riding a motorcycle for 50 miles, that's 10
Oh
micromorts.
yeah, that's super dangerous. What about playing video games all day?
Well, we'll get to that
All right.
because
Oh.
it's even higher up the
Oh,
list.
God.
So, if you have a general anaesthetic, right, where you get knocked out for an emergency operation, that is
What about just like a non-emergency operation?
Well, either way, you're getting knocked out, aren't you?
either way.
There is a peril.
No, but
There
I'm
is a-
trying to. Is it the
A
circumstances?
non-emergency, yeah.
All right,
So no,
okay.
just generally going under general anaesthetic has a 10 micromort increase.
Right. That's
so, yeah,
fucking
you're-
nuts, though. Eh? Anesthetic is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like,
A lot of people just die and don't wake up.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot, but
no.
it's not. Again, these are not big numbers.
I
These are
think in
10
the grand scheme of
is not a
things,
lot.
though, in terms of ways of going out, that's got to be like a decent one, right? Like it's like providing you're not in a massive amount of pain or whatever. But like, I mean, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. If it's just like a routine thing, but at least like you didn't really know what was happening, you know, like you just kind of you go under and then you just never wake up again. It's kind of sick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like sick to think about, but you know what I mean? It's at least like I think honestly that's got to be one of the better ways than like, some of the alternatives.
I think so.
Yeah.
More dangerous than that is playing American football.
Oh yeah,
one game is a 20 micromort chance of dying.
Well, yeah, because of because of all the head trauma that you can suffer potentially. Eh?
Even worse than that is using heroin. If you use heroin once, that's a 30 micromort increase.
Yeah.
Just from one
heroin.
One
One
heroin.
heroin.
One taste of the steel.
What's the opposite of a micromort? Is there anything that can lower this, or is it all just risk?
It's a macro mort.
That's a 1 in a million chance of not dying. Yeah. So that's like doing something like getting shot in the head.
What if I do 20 Hail Marys a day? Is that like 5 macro morts to
minus morts, maybe
balance it out? Minus morts,
negative micromorts.
Yeah.
I reckon you could do stuff that gets negative micromorts.
What if
honestly.
I donate
probably
to
eat green vegetables?
Charity? Well, it's like it's turning into like just a karma system. What if I help a homeless man?
Yeah, I think all of these stuff would probably help your karma.
Macromorts,
it would work. Giving birth is tricky because it's on here a couple of times. It's got different stats for what kind of way you do it. So cesarean has the worst chance. You can die. There's 170 micromorts involved in cesarean birth.
Cesareans are nuts though because they're weird because they're planned. Like you don't even necessarily need to fully be in labor. Like it's just they give you a date and a time. They say turn up, and then
I don't think that's not always true.
You're going for it. No, it's not always true.
There are
like,
emergency cesareans.
There are, yeah, but I mean, like just like your average sort of planned one. It's like I don't know. It's kind of crazy. You feel like
still
they're confident
dangerous.
enough with it where it wouldn't be so risky. You know what I mean? Like it almost seems routine in some countries. Some countries like really favor them, but. Yeah, it's interesting.
Now, I haven't mentioned the age-related issue here. So, obviously, when you're age 20, you only get 1 micromort per day, right? But that goes up dramatically as you get older, okay? Now, when you're age 45...
Oh, no.
The micromorts per day of you dying, basically getting out of bed... Every day you have 6 micromorts.
Oh my God,
dude.
man. Don't tell Flax that. He's 45 for Christ's sake.
I'm 46.
He's 46 for fuck's sake. Like
so you're 6 times more likely to die than a 20-year-old just for being around.
Just walking around. Just give me a break, Mort.
Man,
it gets a lot worse when you get older.
You think of all this, but look at all the people. Like, just have a look around one day and look at all the old people who just seem like they're just plodding along quite comfortably and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It's still a 6 in a million. It's not a big chance, and even that increased from 1 in a million to 6 in a million. You still don't. Those odds are all right. I'd play that. I'd go to the casino with 6 in a million. Just to, it's not a problem. But when you get to 75, the chance you'll die on a given day is 100 in a million, which is suddenly.
But isn't 6 in a million the same
numbers.
as 1 in 170,000 or something, which sounds even worse?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But 100 in a million is obviously only 1 in 10,000 chance of dying every day.
Hang on. So how many people
bad.
live in Bournemouth?
Right.
This is important.
Right.
he needs to know.
So the population in Bournemouth is about 183,491.
Yeah.
Okay, roughly. That's in 2011.
Yeah.
So let's say it's around one person my age should die in Bournemouth every year or every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. So on average in England and Wales, about 24 people die per day, I think. Basically 500,000 people die on average in England every year, and there's 60 million people. So yeah, there's a lot of people dying every day. 500,000 every year. That's a lot.
How many of them do you think are being found with like just a shit in their pants? Or probably quite a few. I would wager.
So 1,400 people die a day in England and Wales. So I think on average the micromorts it varies, but yeah, the chances of dying as you get older get a lot worse. If you're 90, it goes up to 500 micromorts.
Well,
per day.
yeah, I mean, come on, that's pretty old. Like, and it's doable, but like, I think things that you wouldn't worry about so much in your 20s
I mean,
or your 40s
yeah, remember
or whatever,
all this is average.
all of a sudden become
it's not spontaneous
Yeah.
death. It's sometimes, they'll be sick for a while,
It doesn't take much though when
obviously
you're
that.
90, like just one bad fall or something like that. Like,
Especially if you're mountaineering in the Himalayas, because that increases it by 12,000.
well,
Good
shit,
God.
yeah. So if you're 90 and you're mountaineering in the Himalayas, I feel like when you're 90, your only job is to just avoid being in the hospital. I feel like once you're like 90 plus and you get into the hospital, you're pretty much gone, right? Like,
But
you're
I
not
think
coming out.
I think the reason you're in there is because you're pretty much gone. Like, I don't think.
Well, yeah,
going
that's what I
there-
mean. But
Right.
I think you can kind of like almost try to avoid it. Like, I mean, obviously that's not going to be the case. But like, you know what I mean? Like, just try to avoid like, traps like that you would fall into and stuff like that. Like, don't do too much walking, or maybe do like some moderate exercise, but not too much. And I feel like it's like a really, really like finely tuned balancing act at that point.
So some of these stats might be interesting to you. So obviously playing American football is 20, but if you served in the US Armed Forces in Afghanistan through the entire year of 2010, that only increased your micromorts by the same equivalent of playing one game of American football.
What?
Yeah, so there was actually because a lot of people served and a lot of people came back and a lot of people were in administrative roles or weren't under that much danger.
Good
It was
heavens.
actually relatively low. And then the other things that you might think of are pretty high. So yeah, mountaineering in the Himalayas is 12,000, but climbing to try and ascend Mount Everest is 40,000 micromorts, which is a fucking huge number. But if you got infected by COVID and you weren't vaccinated, that was a 10,000 micromort chance of dying.
Wow.
So, compared to things like the Spanish flu, which had like a 3,000 micromort calculation, COVID was like over 3 times more likely to kill you than the others.
Wow.
Which makes sense.
Cases are on the rise again now, aren't they? They're going crazy again. Over here, they're talking about potentially making people wearing masks again and stuff, which hasn't been the case for a long time. Yeah.
So yeah, there's some. I just thought that was really fucking interesting. Of micromorts.
I mean, I know a bunch of people who've got COVID at the moment.
Yeah.
Loads of parents and kids and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But it's like a week later, they're back in school or they're back at work or whatever. And
Well, I think it's partly vaccination. It's partly like, that fucking game where you can mutate a disease to make it more infectious but less virulent.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's generally
Is
the
it Plague
perception,
Inc. or something like that?
The latest sort of versions of it have been less deadly but more infectious.
yeah.
Maybe there's a noob behind the controls who doesn't know how to metagame Plague Inc.
Well, it Metal Games itself. So talking about this idea of a dead man's switch, obviously people prepare for their death by writing a will.
Oh shit! That reminds me. We keep meaning to do that and then forgetting.
Do we need to do you need to do other stuff though too? Have a little button on the side of your computer that wipes it like they have in the movies. Like one of them Amazon buttons that orders new kitchen roll or whatever.
I
use
thought
that on the
for
side
a while
of your PC to wipe it.
I thought for a while that there could be a you could set
That's
up
a business idea.
You could set
by
up
the
an
way,
online thing that you put a load of contact information in, login information for things if you want, whatever. And because people have these big connected lives online, you could get it so that I don't want to say every month, because there might be an occasion where you just can't get in touch with the service, but there needs to be some kind of definitive way that the service finds out that you've died, right? And when it finds that out, it auto fires off a bunch of emails that you've pre-written, or contacts people, shuts down things, logs you out of stuff, whatever.
Yeah, maybe you have 3 people who you can trust, and they're trusted emails. And if they send a death certificate to this thing, the Men in Black come round to your house, and they're like, "We're here to collect Pyrion Flax's computer and all the magazines from under his mattress."
Magazines.
And
God, I just took the best bits out and laminated them and hung them in the forest like any good pervert would.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
No, because this is the problem, isn't it? It's very hard to, it's such a young man's thing, social media, but there's going to be a wealth of dead pages, of literally people being dead pages.
I'd want to send a tweet calling out all the people I want to call out from beyond the grave. spilling
Right.
the beans, like a mega thread of bean spilling.
Oh my god.
You just want to do one final bean spill
Yeah.
before you peace out.
Ironically, I died in a bean spillage.
You died, dude. You drowned in a vat of beans. Oh man.
What's the micromorts of dying in a
No,
fucking
it's like
bean
that scene in
spillage?
RoboCop where the dude accidentally he gets shot
Gets
and then he
hit by the
drives
toxic
he
stuff.
drives
Yeah.
into the toxic thing, but
He's
it's
going,
it's at the Heinz factory and it's a big vat
Yeah.
of beans.
You're covered in beans. The guy's like, "Get away from me, man!" Get run over
Just
by some guy
farting the whole
in the bean van, smashes you to bits.
Oh man.
I think people have probably died of baked beans.
Well, I wonder what the Morty points is on that one. How many tins of baked beans and how many Jigaborts?
Here you go.
Okay, look,
I've
there
got
we
one
go.
for you. Suffolk Gazette. Man drowned in bath full of beans. He was raising money for
Exactly.
Prince William's air ambulance service. German.
Well, this is the
his
thing.
name. His name is the most German name imaginable. German Heinz Müller, who's lived in Suffolk most of his
shit.
life, wanted to raise £300 for the East Anglian Air Ambulance. But an inquest said he died a terrible death when the charity stunt in a village pub went tragically wrong. He was told an old iron bath had been placed in the public bar at the Dog and Duck and filled with 500 tins of baked beans by a local supermarket because they were past the sell-by date. Mr. Muller,
Ugh.
an electrician from
Out of
Bury
date
St. Edmunds,
beans?
had to strip to his
That's not
boxer
what he
shorts.
signed
I
up
know.
for.
He lay in the bath for 24 hours in order to raise cash. But at 4:30, while the landlord was in the cellar changing a barrel, he fell asleep and drowned.
Oh my fuck.
Come
When
on,
I was only
man.
downstairs for a few minutes. When I got back to the bar, I could not see Heinz in the bath. I assumed he must have given up and got out. Think about now, it was all very ironic. Because I remember Don't Leave Me This Way by the Communards was playing on the jukebox at the time.
Oh my
All
god.
right, this
Why
has
did he
be a
need to
joke.
say that?
This is a joke, I think.
This has got to be a April
Okay,
Fool
so
or
what if
something, right?
I mean, so this guy drowns in the beans and they have to take his body out or whatever, and then they have to empty the tub of the beans. What if you're like emptying the tub of beans and there's just a shit in there? Like
No. Look at this fucking. Look at
that's
this
his
article.
parting gift. He just
Look
did
at
a
this
shit
article.
in the
Look at
beans.
the end.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I-
a joke. It's a joke.
I hope Mr. Muller's family could draw some comfort from the fact that his death will be a warning to other charity fundraisers not to push themselves to the limits of endurance, right? Mrs. Muller was too upset to speak to the Suffolk Gazette outside the court, but neighbour and family friend Jack Bentley said, "It's such a terrible shame because Heinz was lovely and lively character. He was so full of beans."
Indeed. So
Come
I'm sorry,
on.
I've been duped. I apologise.
It cannot be real.
But there is a story here saying that a woman,
Oh, because his name's Heinz.
a woman fell
Poor
to her
Heinz
death
is toast.
at a block of flats in Bristol. This is in April of this year, after a resident claimed they overheard arguing over a can of baked beans. So it's actually more dangerous to get in an argument about baked beans than it is to be around baked beans, I would wager.
I mean, if the argument heats up and somebody throws an entire full tin of baked beans at somebody, that could really hurt.
Well, if the argument heats up, that's how you want your beans, though. You don't want them cold.
You can have them cold if you're in like a, like a conflict situation or whatever.
I mean, people have probably spilt some beans on the floor and slipped on them and cracked their head on the countertop.
yeah, no doubt.
We're in Britain. There's a lot of beans being eaten. I mean, there is probably a micromort associated with that. You know, a 0.1 micromorts per can of beans.
Wait,
Like,
why 0.1 for like peanut butter? It gets a higher risk factor than eating baked beans? Come on.
Well, it's much fattier. It's
Yeah,
got a
but the
fat in it. I
beans
think it's the fat and the salt that's in it or whatever.
I
you
mean,
know?
I know beans are good for your heart, but like, as they say, the more you eat, the more you fart. And I feel like that could be risky too. You just get really full of wind. Maybe you have trouble passing the winds. Like,
But like you said, I think the micro morts, the minus morts that the beans give for your heart probably undo the danger of murdering your wife in an accident.
Or a bean argument, yeah.
Argument related to beans.
gosh, a bean-related homicide. Can you imagine?
Bean aside. No, that sounds awful. And I'm sure it has happened. But that one actually does sound legit bad, P-Flex. It's very sad. But yeah, look, here you go. Eating baked beans can reduce your risk of early death from any cause.
Ooh, a minus mort.
Because they contain plant proteins.
Yes.
Instead of meat proteins.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Yet again, the vegan and vegetarian agenda finds its way onto the podcast through subtle means.
We gotta be smug about
Flax,
it.
come on, admit it. You like a tin of beans from time to time.
I like them. So there is a barbecue sauce called Salt Lick that I was sent by my friend in Texas. And she sent me this is like a bottle of Salt Lick barbecue sauce. Let me tell you something. If you get miserable baked beans that we normally sell in this country, which is literally just in a thin, runny ketchup, if you add a good barbecue sauce to it with a little bit of heat, those beans become magical.
Well,
if you don't, they can fuck off.
Well, there are barbecue style beans.
Are you trying to tell me about magic beans
in a tin?
P-Flex?
No, I don't want barbecue sauce in the tin because the sauce is garbage. I'm saying I need a dedicated barbecue sauce, a company who's put their stamp on the barbecue world with authority and said, we are going to focus on one thing and one thing only, and it's making the best barbecue sauce we can. Not stuffing it in a tin and going, barbecue, just stick some more sugar in there, mate.
Oh, man.
I'm talking about actual good barbecue sauce. Add that to the beans. Just trust me.
No,
it's good.
I trust you. I'm sure it's probably good, but I got to say, I do really like just a tin of plain-ass beans. Like, I don't mind the runny ketchup and stuff like that, you know? You just put it on some toast or have it with some chips or whatever. Like, they're so good.
It's bland.
Yeah, it's fine, though. I mean,
I admire people.
It's not like the flagship of the meal, right? It's just like
put passion into one thing, right? I admire those people who focus on, like, making one thing really brilliant.
Right.
Yep.
You know, and they dedicate their life to it. Especially when it's something like barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
It's like a thing that is like, you know, it's nice to have it. It's nice to have someone who cares about it, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I love. I like these passionate, creative individuals sitting at home doing science, you know.
coming up with just the finest recipe for barbecue sauce.
It's a little bit like, though, in a way, the idea that, you know, the Pepsi Coke thing, you know, where they did that test back in the day to say which people preferred, and everyone always did the sip test, and they liked Pepsi better every time. And it was because one sip of Pepsi was nicer. But when you have to drink a whole can of it, it becomes sickly sweet.
I always leaned towards Coca-Cola Classic if I ever did the taste test. I don't know why, and when I used to drink soda, I would drink Coke Classic as well. I just preferred it. I don't know.
Well, this was the whole thing about the Pepsi
edge.
challenge, right? And it also led to like new Pepsi. It's really interesting all that stuff about because they basically ended up making their drinks sweeter and sweeter because any consumer tests showed that people liked Pepsi more and they liked it sweeter, but they did, yes, when they drank one sip. But, you know, it meant that, like, the can was just undrinkable. And you can't really do that in a consumer setting. You can't give people, like, an entire fucking can to drink out in the street, you know, and expect them to chug the whole thing. So, yeah, it was a good example of something that people took their eyes off. And in a sense, like, I wonder whether the barbecue sauce people can really get perspective. You know, they are hardcore barbecue sauce junkies.
They know it, yeah.
You know, they have a different taste palette, right? And also, they're going to get more and more fucking fucked up by it, right? It's like they're eating it every day. They're going to need the harder and harder stuff. They're going to be, like, immune to the sweetness and the deliciousness.
That was, you know what, that was one of my favourite bits. I think it was Breaking Bad, where they go to the German ketchup factory and the guy tastes the ketchup. I think he gets assassinated. And I just love the idea that there's a whole factory of people and scientists in lab coats trying to get ketchup flavor just right. So there'll be people out there doing that for barbecue sauce, but in like their kitchen or their garage where they set up as like the barbecue sauce place.
Yeah.
And their entire focus is on getting the flavor just right.
Think of all the homebrew sauces that just never make it to market as well. You know?
A lot of jealously guarded sauces.
People who just have their own recipe and they're like, you know, they're known in their friend circles. Like, hey, Reggie's got some really good homemade sauce. You can't buy that you can't buy that off the shelf and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Well, Reggie's jizzing in the sauce. That's why he doesn't share the secret.
They say that all great artists imbue their work with a personal touch. You know,
what would you do?
Kurt Cobain used to jizz on his art. Apparently, this was a.
Here's the thing, okay? Imagine you are like you've dedicated your life to ketchup, okay, and it turns out that one day someone brings in this sauce and it's amazing, and you're like, oh my god. This is blown my mind. This is the best sauce. We need to get this into production, right? But then you find out that he jizzed in it, right? That's the secret ingredient. How do you then take that
I'll tell you what you
that?
do. You then dedicate your life to finding how to make something taste exactly like jizz. So you can add that instead.
Right.
So you can add that instead and say it's just a special savory flavoring that we add, a patented flavoring. And you don't tell anyone that you've spent millions of pounds and years of your life dedicated to making a seasoning that tastes exactly like man juice.
I see. Is this why they keep the recipes secret?
Yes.
In like the KFC and the
that's the
Coca-Cola
Colonel's special seasoning is, some old geezer's jizz. Yeah.
I know this one comes up a lot. Like the people with the recipe for Coke and for Heinz ketchup and stuff. They can't travel together or whatever. Man, how embarrassing would it be if you were the guy responsible for making edible taste just like jizz, and then you had to tell somebody you couldn't travel with your colleagues because just in case the recipe was lost because you all died on the same plane or whatever. I just think that would suck.
You're getting your keys. You're leaving.
Gets his keys out.
I'm out.
You've had it. I've had enough.
I dropped the mic.
You have there's a plane crash in the Andes.
Yeah. And the secret recipe for can't believe it's not jizz has been lost today, and national tragedy when all 4 CEOs of the company died in the same plane crash. I guess it would make a good headline, but at the same time, come on.
Would that be part of the bean spill? When you go out, do you need to do this WikiLeaks sort of bean spill? I like it. I kind of like it. But the problem is that the danger is, of course, that if this is all centralized, the danger is it gets hacked, right? And it gets released early, and then it ruins everything.
Well,
right?
I think
people
keep
are so
it in
scared.
a safe, right? So here's my question. They lock these recipes away, blah, blah, blah. But there must come a point where someone has to actually make this flavoring.
It's
of course
it's
right.
People doing small parts of it, right? So nobody gets the overall.
Are they not
picture.
allowed to hang out? Are they not allowed to hang out?
No, because
so they
it's
talk.
probably,
what did you do today? Oh, I took sugar and added this to it.
How much did you put in? Exactly. I can't tell you that, Billy. It's
right, but you're relying on. I guess if you spread the information thinly enough throughout the organization, so that everybody does one small part. Nobody actually knows what the whole looks like. And they would all have to get together. And you keep the sites separate and different. Maybe you set them against each other, the different departments.
Yeah.
And I suppose that in that way. But then at the same time, you then do get a certain number of ingredients that you purchase every month or whatever to make it whatever it is you're making. Anyone with a brain should be able to figure out what's happening here.
I'm sure many have, but the thing is, I think the whole system is so convoluted that if you're trying to figure it out, it would take you a little while to figure it out. And in the process of trying to figure it out, the man is onto you. They realize. And then they let you get right to the end where you're like, that's it. I found the final measurement for the amount. There's 3 ingredients in Coke, which is the funniest thing. I found out the final measurement, and then, pow, you're dead. They just shoot you.
You think it's a Men in Black style. I think it's all a marketing gimmick, right? And first of all, anything like this, has to be incredibly consistent. The whole point of Coke and the Heinz ketchup is that they taste exactly the fucking same. So the recipe has to be incredibly clear and easy to follow by a lot of people in a lot of different manufacturing plants. It hasn't got one manufacturing plant for Coke. It's manufactured all over the fucking world. Secondly, it's manufactured locally to local tastes, right? And so Coke is used, we use sugar here, they use corn syrup there. It's different recipes, different things for every different country, and it tastes different all over the place according to where it's needed, especially with fast food restaurants. But this idea of this mystical secret recipe gives it some allure, like it's somehow better, when in fact it's clearly A, the cheapest, B, it changes to keep using the cheapest ingredients, and C, it's local to what ingredients are available in that country or what is needs to be applied. So it's entirely a false idea, right? This secret recipe used to sell us things, but we like buying into that illusion. We like the mystery. We like the lie, and so it's a fun story that is just clearly we should have grown up and realised that it's bogus. Anyone in a Coke factory knows what the fucking ingredients are to make Coke. It's sugar, some fucking
Do you want to know what it is? It's
Yeah, go
No,
on.
I like living actually.
it's a 3-dram extract of coca.
You're gonna tell us, and then we're just gonna get suddenly shot.
I don't care. 3 ounces of
Through the
citric
window.
acid, 1 ounce of caffeine,
Don't tell us.
30
Do you not value
pounds
your
of
life?
sugar, 2.5 gallons of water, 2 pints of lime
Oh my
juice, an
God,
ounce of
man.
vanilla, 1.5 ounces of caramel.
You might as well just be saying Candyman 3 times in your mirror at midnight right now.
And this is apparently the secret 7X formula. I don't know what that means. Alcohol, 8 ounces. Orange oil, 20 drops. Cinnamon oil, 10 drops. Lemon oil, 30 drops. Coriander oil, 5 drops. Nutmeg oil, 10 drops. Neroli oil, 10 drops.
Wow.
That's in Everett Beale's recipe book of
some Coca-Cola
1979.
fan is going to write in and say, actually, Lewis, Fort Knox has the secret recipe sealed within a vault that was sealed by John S. Pemberton in 1886.
It was John Pemberton, correct.
So, I mean,
Was it
if you're
John
if you're writing
Pemberton?
that email to PFlax right now, stop it. Just delete it. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about how Coke is actually some kind of holy grail.
They have a vault.
Stop drinking poison sugar.
They have a vault.
don't do
and
it.
It must be a joke because it's got a palm print ID thing on it. It's clearly a joke.
What was the thing about the Coke logo where you could see somebody smoking crack or something? Like it was like cleverly hidden, but it looks like somebody's...
that was in the one of the advertisements. It was a lady, a naked lady or something. Like they concealed stuff. The artist concealed stuff in an ice cube reflection or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, there was a big thing. I think it was probably in the 70s, maybe even the 60s, where they talked about subliminal advertising as a thing, and they'd flash images at people and stuff. It never worked, as I understand it. It's been disproven as pseudoscience, but I think subliminal advertising as a concept was
my God.
interesting, but gibberish.
Bing Crosby's last words were Coca-Cola. He said, he just finished a round of golf in Madrid. He shot an 85 and said, "That was a great game of golf, fellas. Let's go have a Coca-Cola." And then he collapsed and died of a heart attack.
Well,
Bing Crosby did.
Walt Disney's last words were
Crosby.
Kurt Russell.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. He just said Kurt Russell and then died. I don't know why, but interesting.
Maybe he was trying to tell us something.
He was trying to say
I hope mine is Chris Waddle.
Coca-Cola, and it came out. Kurt Russell. You hope yours is Chris Waddle?
Chris Waddle. Yeah, that's the last thing I want to say.
He's trying to tell us something. Was he trying to say Coca-Cola? Did he want what did he... Oh, quick, give him a Coca-Cola.
Oh man.
He's dying.
Bing Crosby died of a heart attack. I did not know that. My I'm not really up to scratch on my Bing lore. I'm aware of him, but I don't know much about him. You know, like.
Well, I think it's because golf courses carry a certain amount of risk. Interestingly.
Yeah. How many micro?
Well, 9 people were killed by lightning strikes on golf courses
Really?
between 2006 and 2016. And then if you have a heart attack on a golf course, you're incredibly likely to die because there's no defibrillators. You're miles from anywhere, and there's no way to
Imagine it was like a
respond
one or
quickly.
the other. You had a chance to die, but you also had a chance to have like a really supercharged game of golf after getting struck.
Well, this is it. The golf,
Like it
the
powers you up.
exercise of doing the golf decreases your chance of having a heart attack. But if you have one when you're out there, you're much more likely to die.
Well, yeah, I guess it's harder
another
for
one of
the
those
ambulance and stuff to get to you.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Things to think about,
Interesting stuff. So maybe do golf, but maybe don't stand near trees when it's raining.
When it rains, just go
Try
home.
not to have a heart attack while you're out there as well.
They turn off roller coasters when the rain comes in because they're worried about storms. You should be worried too. You're holding a piece of metal in a wide open space. Just get in the golf cart and get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, I figured that people are getting struck by lightning. Like if it starts pouring rain or whatever, you hide under a tree, you have a chance. But I suppose, yeah, if you're holding like your club.
Yeah, I mean you're carrying around
I guess
a bunch of.
I guess because they're very flat.
It's a very flat area.
You're a bump.
Yeah.
You're a bump in the landscape.
I mean, I think what you should do is lie down in a bunker. Get in that bunker.
Right. That's what it's called.
A
That's why
sand
it's called
pit,
that.
you mean the sand pit?
It's called a sand.
Well, you're not
sand
supposed to
pit,
go.
yes.
You're not supposed to stand under trees in lightning storm because the
No.
lightning can shatter the tree and just kill you
Well,
with the shards.
I think more importantly, you can get electrocuted probably because you'd be another conductor for the lightning once it hits the tree.
You want to be in your car, right? During because the
I think a car is good. The tires will insulate you and stuff like that. Yeah,
they'll keep you
That
grounded
makes
or
sense.
whatever, right? What about
Yeah.
what about having your windows open during a thunder and lightning storm?
I tend to stay away from the window. I know that one time we were, this was when me and Mrs. F were going out. This is quite early days. This was in 1995, and there was a big thunderstorm over her house. And where she lived at the time was quite sort of rural, and there was a field and her house, and we'd watch this thing about how lightning finds its way to the ground, and it sends out, if you ever watch a slow-mo of a lightning bolt, you see all these other little tendrils coming off it, and they're all trying to find a route, if you like, not like intelligently, but it's just when it finds the optimal route, the lightning is naturally conducted along that channel, and you'll often see and hear these little clicks around you that are like static, and that's probably one of the feelers finding its way down, sort of thing. Because we were looking out the window and we heard this massive click, like it sounded like sort of like a snap, or like a genuine snap right near us, just as the lightning hit the ground, and we figured that might have been one of those sort of little feelers that the lightning puts out before it hits the ground, and decided that hitting me in her window looking out at the thunderstorm was not as pog as just smashing into the ground, so that's what it did.
Holy crap. Lightning's terrifying. Nature. Good old nature. I always forget like how badass it is.
It's nuts.
Until I'm actually
you see footage of like flooding and stuff, and you just realize, holy crap! Like if where I live decided to flood, like what can you do? There's nothing you can do about it. It's just gonna absolutely wreck everything.
And didn't we speak about this the other week? The 1 cubic meter of water is a ton.
Yeah.
So when you see those rivers going along and it's not very deep, it only needs to be a meter deep. And that's tons and tons and tons, and all the water behind it pushing it, because you can't compress water.
No.
It ain't going anywhere, so it's just going to shove everything out the way. You got no chance. Yeah. Water is amazing stuff.
It really is, yeah.
It's bad, especially when it's fucking coming in through your fucking ceiling on the old bloody boiler pot.
Scalding.
Speaking of that, I better actually go, because the plumber is still due over 5 days later.
Oh, excellent. Yep, you can always trust tradespeople, for sure.
You got to get ready as well. You got to get your turtleneck, your waterproof turtleneck on and everything. Like, come on.
Get that tin of beans ready to feed him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we'll be back. This will be the last proper podcast in a while because of the old chips away. But
the summer
we've got some other
vacay,
stuff.
We
got some other stuff prepared. We got some mailbag episodes. We got some random junk, extra crap that we recorded. So enjoy that, and we'll see you soon. Enjoy these couple of weeks of summertime. P-Flax. Enjoy
you guys too. Everybody have a wonderful summer.
America.
Thanks.
We'll meet up on the other side. We'll have tons to talk about.
Oh man, so much to talk about.
I
got a new boiler going in this summer. I got a new water tank on the subject of water tanks. We got a little trip planned.
Amazing.
Holy shit!
All right, keep a journal, keep a diary. I want to hear.
Good idea.
I want to hear from you guys. All right. Well, look, thank you, everyone. See you soon. We love you.
See you soon.
And be good to each other. All
right.
Bye.
Goodbye.